Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. It's Christmas time. The holidays may look a little different this year, but we'll still be celebrating. Join us to see what's staying the same and what we're switching up to keep the season festive. We'll also share fun gift ideas for yourself and the other moms in your life. Let's get started. Hello, listeners. It's time to talk about Christmas. It's December 2nd, and you guys know what that means. It is time to get out the holiday decorations and your Christmas spirit. But Mindy and Julie, I've noticed that a lot of people are doing that early this year. Have you guys noticed that?
Oh, yes. All around my neighborhood going for walks. It's all the gorgeous Christmas decor.
I think they're taking advantage of the weather. Like, it's such nice weather. People are outside decorating now as opposed to later.
Yes. Well, how about you guys? Have you started early? It's December 2nd, so we probably have our trees up now, but when we're recording this, it's right before Thanksgiving. And before Thanksgiving, do you have your tree up?
No.
All right. Well, I kind of cheat a little bit because I do the thankful tree.
Oh.
So I do put the tree up early, but it's covered in beautiful fall leaves with, our thankful statements. And so it makes it easier, though, when it's time for Christmas. Yeah. I imagine by the time this podcast airs, it's full on Christmas.
Okay. Yes.
Mindy, next year you could have a patriotic tree, a Halloween tree, and then, it's just up all year long.
Somebody did ask me that, Julie. They're like, do you just keep it up all year? And I said, no, that actually would drive me crazy. However, it's one of those skinny, tall trees, so it's not real obtrusive. So even in our smaller home this year, it's just charming, to see lights up.
Yeah.
And so I really can only handle a tree, though, for like 2 months. And I'm over it. I can't do it after that.
Yeah. Well, we want to think about the holidays this year in this podcast. And I think we've accepted the fact that the holidays are going to look different this year. But we wanted to talk about what we're planning and maybe some of the things that we're asking for and some of the things that we're changing and just all the things that are going through our mind as we enter this season. I know that everything seems a little up in the air right now, and maybe this is the year that we have a unique opportunity to do things differently. Do you guys think that you're going to be changing things up or trying to keep them the same?
Well, I'll be changing things up because it won't be different. I mean, it won't be the same.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to have any family here. And so it's just going to be a lot different. So I think it'll make it easier on me to not try to maintain traditions without family, but to do new things, focus on different things.
Right. And you're definitely not going to be alone in that because I see people posting that they aren't getting together with family for the holidays. So there'll be other people that are trying to change it up. How about you, Mindy?
We've had a lot of change. We live in a different place. And honestly, my family is going through COVID right now. We're kind of on the tail end of it. But having COVID right now, I'm so thankful because it frees us up for Christmas. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'll be able to travel down and see all of my family in Georgia, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, things like that, while my parents will be there. And so I'm actually, things are going to be very different, a lot simpler, but it's going to be more about the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I was thinking that this is certainly a time to try new things if you want to. I mean, 2020 is the year of change, so you should feel free. On the other hand, with so much change, I was thinking that some people listening might be finding comfort in keeping as many things the same as possible. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to think of, am I switching things up? I mean, I am in what society allows me to do. Like, there aren't going to be programs and festivals and things outside my house, but I'm trying to keep, I guess, the things inside my house the same because I feel like everything else has been so up in the air. But in a normal year, as you pack up the Christmas boxes and you put them back into storage, do you ever find yourself making promises that next year won't be as crazy? Oh my goodness.
Yes. Every year.
Yes. Do you promise to make things simpler next year? I always vow that.
I always feel like there's this inner turmoil because, I love Christmas. I start thinking about it right after Halloween. I start making mental gift lists. planning, looking for new recipes, starting, to decorate or find new things to decorate with. After I put it all up every year, I always say, maybe not so many gifts next year, or we should go out less during the holidays and stay home more, or maybe I won't put up so many decorations. It's like one side of me saying you should do all this because I don't want to miss out on any of the Christmas stuff. And then the other side is like, oh, it's just too much,
Yes.
Right.
I know. I always make mental notes like, I struggle over the gift giving. So I'm super excited we're going to talk about that. I always struggle with like, did I get the right thing? Did I have the right amount? Or I spent too much, trying to compensate for things that who knows what. But last year, I thought I was super smart with my decor. Anything that I had to retrofit to get to work, I finally tossed it.
That's a good idea.
So I didn't know we would have an upcoming move. And we had so much Christmas. So any of the lighted garland, like the old lighted garland that shed worse than anything that was like, real.
As you walk by, you don't want anyone to brush up against it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. And I would end up with like scratchy arms, scratches all up my arms with trying to like light the staircase and the mantle. And like, I threw all that stuff away. We had lighted wreaths for every window with the red bow at the top. Half of those didn't work. I threw them all away. And so I do feel better, at least about the decorations side of it. I'm kind of like, what do I actually have in there? I'm curious.
Yes. Every year as I put away my Christmas boxes, I tend to throw out Christmas decor and ornaments that, if the ornament didn't make it on the tree,
right,
I need to just get rid of it. And so I keep on trying to make fewer and fewer Christmas boxes. So I am successful at that. But every year I say I'll buy less gifts. Not necessarily because I've gone over budget, but because I feel like the return on my investment goes down after a certain number of gifts. Like the enthusiasm of the receiver isn't as high as I hoped, or it seems like the appreciation level's out, or it feels like maybe it's a little bit one-sided. Do you guys find yourself feeling like, ugh, this isn't making me feel as good as it should?
I tend to stop off list, and I enjoy doing the gift giving part. So I just don't know if I just am in turmoil. They're like, oh, is that right? Like, are we getting too much? Would it be better to be simpler? I don't know. I enjoy all that, but still, I just have that in my mind.
Okay, so I feel like my kids are at ages where they all want or need money or gift cards. There's not a whole lot of items I can actually wrap and put under the tree. And then I feel terrible because grandparents are saying, hey, what do the kids want? And I'm like, money? That's no fun to shop or just to give money or gift cards. So that's where the overcompensating comes in. I'm like, because I end up giving them money or gift cards, but I want to have stuff under the tree too. So then I buy all this other stuff and I'm like, why do I do that? They don't need it. They don't want it. And so I really do struggle with how to give gifts. And do you know, every year, my favorite gift exchange is watching my children's gifts for each other. They have not spent a lot of money. They're very heartfelt. The joy that comes as they each open each other's gift, it's so personal. And somehow my kids are really great gift givers with each other. And I'm like, how can I do that? Like, they've only given them something small, simple, heartfelt, and there's so much joy that comes from it. So I think, okay, that's the note I need to take. That's the advice I need to take.
All the thought that went in behind it. Yeah.
Yes.
I do always say that I'll do less work, like less cooking, cleaning, rushing around, stressing over whether or not this or that person is happy. I waste way too much time wondering how I can make this or that person happier. It drives me nuts, but I can't stop.
Yes. I understand that though. If anyone's coming to your house, you think, how can I give them the best experience? Like the smells and the foods and it's this magical Christmas time. And I'm like, I am not that person. I'm terrible at that. Like, we're going to go to Julie's house.
No, you don't want to come here.
Yeah. Well, I always say that I'll enjoy the moment more of whatever I'm doing. And I honestly, before I get down on myself too much, I honestly have to say, though, I think this is probably common for a lot of moms. We all go into it saying, I'm going to enjoy it. And then there's just so much work.
Well, hopefully this year, maybe we actually do. We've all been forced to simplify, right? Isn't that the word of the season?
Yes.
The simple Christmas of 2020.
So those are some of our promises to ourselves and our regrets and our what we're going to do differently. So now let's talk about how we are going to enjoy the slowdown and eliminate the unnecessary parts of the season. So I want to hear you guys' ideas because I obviously need some help here. Mindy, what are you doing to slow it down this year?
Bryce and I have been talking a lot about how we'll handle this year. Taking a note from the simple Christmas idea, we would really like to focus on other people. If we can somehow meet the needs and maybe small wants of our children and family, everyone already has what they need. So if there's a way that as a family we can focus on meeting other needs in our community, people that we know, then I would love to make that the focus to kind of keep it slower. Obviously, there's no Christmas parties. I think everything's going to be just homegrown. I'm excited to watch Christmas movies. I feel like we've watched so many movies this year, yet I am still super excited. I'm keeping myself from watching Elf and Home Alone and It's a Wonderful Life, but I can't wait to pull those movies out and watch with my family. Also, I think there's going to be a lot less eating out, and there's going to be a lot more Pinterest recipes that we try. If somebody has an idea, that's something that we're going to do. So I just see it all as, trying recipes at home, watching movies at home. Thankfully, our temperatures in Tennessee stay pretty temperate through the Christmas season. And so we have some parks that put lights up along the greenways. And I think that's going to be one of the highlights.
Sounds
is just
super fun, Mindy.
Walking the parks with the lights. We've always been too busy to do that. And ironically, we live really close to Farragut Park. And it's so charming. I can't wait for them to put the lights on. We've been seeing them put it all together for the past couple of weeks. And we both regret that while we lived here before, we never went and saw it at night. We never had time to just walk through the park.
Well,
so
this will be
that's one
fun.
of the things we're going to do.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. And it sounds simple, but new at the same time because it's something that you haven't done before.
Yes.
So it is a new memory. Julie, how are you planning to slow down and eliminate the unnecessary parts of this season?
Well, I feel like for me, the slowdown and the elimination was just kind of forced on me. I don't have to make that choice. It's just going to happen that way. Not having anybody here and nothing to go do necessarily like that we would normally do party wise, or I like to go to festivals and Christmas things,
I know I was thinking of that for you.
Yeah. So, just like Minnie said, I think a lot of it'll just be at home and being together with the family that is here and just watching movies. One of the things I did get one of the porch heaters that you talked about, Marie, and the other night I cranked that up and got under my blanket on my swing bed and watched The Crown.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
It was so that will extend my time outside a little more and maybe enable us to have people over still through the holidays to be outside. So yeah, I'm always reminded of the Christmas episode of The Middle when she wants to have the simple orangey Christmas, where you just want to put an orange in the stocking and everybody will be happy.
Yes, right.
Like the olden days. So that's what I'm going for this year. So
it's going to be an orangey Christmas.
That episode is hilarious.
Well, I just was thinking, in a Christmas card, what do we always wish people at Christmas? We wish them peace and joy. And then, but we tend to hang on to obligations and traditions and things that maybe rob us of the very thing we're wishing people. So I think it's key just to figure out, okay, what really brings us peace and joy. And if it doesn't, let's get rid of it.
Right.
I love that, Julie.
Yeah, I'm kind of embracing the lack of things on the calendar. Like there's no school programs, there's no work or church parties, there's no festivals or parades. Not that I'm happy that there aren't those things, but it does slow your season down. When you look at your weekends, sometimes in past years, every single weekend is filled before Christmas.
Right.
And you haven't even started. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to start with a blank slate. I was thinking maybe plan something new. So we were planning our annual cookie decorating last night. I was trying to think of a date that everyone would be able to come. And then I thought, this is something new that we could do because sometimes in past years, my dad has come over and played his guitar while we decorate cookies, and that's always so fun. And so I thought, what if we had a sing-along? So my mom and dad practice their guitars just about on a daily basis. And my brother also got a guitar. They are all in Hilton Head together for Thanksgiving week. And I texted my mom, I said, hey, what if we had a sing-along before Christmas? And she said, oh, that's a great idea. We all brought our guitars and we'll practice this week. So my sister-in-law just sent me a text before we started recording. It's a video of my parents and my brother up bright and early before breakfast, practicing Christmas carols to get ready for this sing-along.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's so fun. And it also gives my parents something fun to do this month, learn Christmas carols. They don't really have a reason to learn Christmas carols on the guitar, and now they have something new to think about in the afternoons when they practice.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, and it's just a sweet memory. So that's one, kind of new thing that we're planning this year. But I do think if you can think of some new tradition to break it up in your mind or to look forward to, that's kind of a good thing to have. Maybe brainstorm a little bit with your other family members on what they think you could possibly do together. But do you guys find yourself stressed out by all the shoulds? Because I think that even when we're trying to slow down, we have, just like Julie said before, she has the one half of her saying, make it simple, and the other half, don't miss out. And I think that's how we feel. We're like, slow down, but then we have all the shoulds on the other side of us. Like, oh, we should do this tradition and we should do that. What do you guys do with all the stress about shoulds?
Well, I think the shoulds arise from kind of that fear of missing out, like fear of missing out on Christmas because it's such a short season. It only comes around once a year. So I always feel like I have to get it all in, So this year, I think we can easily give our self permission to drop some of those,
Right.
Yeah,
just partly because they're not even available,
It's true. It's true. For me, it's specifically with the gift giving. I think that I have this idea in my mind of like the quintessential Christmas morning, and the children run in and there's all these gifts and they're flooded over the room and they're just so thrilled with all the gifts. And I'm like, well, that is a lie.
Especially when they're not little anymore.
They're not little anymore. And I think that the idea in my head is more of like seeing a lot of gifts under the tree and maybe being okay with the simplicity or the joy of having less. It's like I'm okay with having less of activities or going places or programs that I'm like, yeah, I'm just exhausted by the time we hit all the stuff and all the different parties. But I think I keep telling myself it's okay to have less under the tree. That's what I struggle with is thinking that somehow even a quantity, like, well, what is enough? What's too much? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, you always wonder, okay, this year we're going to do, I've thought of even a specific number, like everybody gets 3 gifts or whatever you'd come up with. But there's always the fear of, ooh, what if that goes over like a lead balloon?
No.
You wonder like, ooh, will it really be the same if we do it that way?
Right. I struggle with all the shoulds of things that I have started. So like my oldest son, he likes this cracker candy. And one of the biggest fights, I think I've mentioned in podcasts before that I have one Christmas meltdown a year. But anyways, one of the biggest meltdown fights I had with Steve one year was it was like maybe Christmas Eve, and I still had not made this cracker candy. Now, my son was probably older middle school, maybe young high school. And I really wanted to get that cracker candy done because you know what it's like. Boys don't ask for a lot. And they always get so thrilled if you make a certain food that they like. And he liked that. And he kept asking me when I was going to make it. And I hadn't had time to make it. And it was like Christmas Eve. And I'm stressing about trying to get this cracker candy done. And I think Steve and I got in a fight about all the other things that were yet still undone. And why didn't he take some of those and let me do this cracker candy? I don't even remember exactly. I just remember it took all the joy, for one, out of the cracker candy. And for two, it was terrible to get in a fight on Christmas Eve day. Like, nobody wants to be fighting the afternoon of Christmas Eve. And I always think about that when someone says the shoulds of holidays, because in my mind, I should make that cracker candy. If I don't please him in this way, he'll be disappointed about Christmas and remember, oh, my mom dropped that tradition. Now, I know that he listens to this podcast. He's going to think, I don't even remember that. I forgot that I even like that. But I think as moms, we blow all those little traditions up in our mind and we think, oh, if we skip it this year, they're going to notice and be disappointed.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the should of the Christmas card, the family photo Christmas card. That always stressed me out because you have to start thinking about that photo maybe in October or November.
True.
Or,
Right.
so I ended up just, pull up a beach picture or whatever, like we never really got a new picture, but that was always stressful to me.
Yes. Whoever created photo Christmas cards really stressed the next generation of moms out. Think of how easy moms had it when all they had to do was sign their name to a pre-made card.
Right. And then the transition was, then you write a letter that you stick inside,
True.
like it goes to everyone so you can highlight all the things you did. And I honestly feel like the photo card came out of not wanting to write the letter.
True.
Because they were trying to simplify and not have to try to, make their year sound amazing when it was awful, or whatever.
Yeah.
My kid that didn't do what I wanted him to, like he's really excelling at crocheting.
Or just normal,
He's just a normal kid.
Your year was normal.
Well, and now the next generation, I asked my daughter, she's moving right before Christmas. So I said, are you going to send out a changed my address, here's my new house, / Merry Christmas card? She goes, that does not sound fun to me. She said, I do not picture myself doing that. No. I said, well, what about people knowing your new address? If people need my address, they can text me. Like, it never even was occurring to her to stress about making any kind of cards. And she's a photographer. She has pictures galore. And even she doesn't feel like making a photo card and sending them out to people.
She is the perfect rebel, which ironically, I have rebelled for the past probably 4 years with the Christmas cards. So this year, that's actually something I'm actually going to do.
All right. But you're going to do it on your terms, Mindy.
It's my terms. I didn't do it the past 4 years, so I'm deciding to do it this year.
Right.
Well, there's so many pictures always on Facebook. It's like you don't even need them anymore,
I know.
Yeah, I really like your Christmas card, Julie, and I'll just give a shout out to Julie to our listeners because I think I've actually posted these on our Instagram. She watercolored herself her last few Christmas cards, and I save those because they're so pretty and they're like a little Christmas scene and they're so meaningful. And please keep me on your Christmas card list for that, Julie.
Well, thank you. My daughter just showed me she was decorating for Christmas and she has these frames with mats, but she can change out the pictures.
Uh-huh.
So she put in my last 2 Christmas cards that were sent out as, as
sweet.
Decorations for Christmas. So
yes, I love
that does
those.
Inspire me to keep it up.
Yes. They are gorgeous.
Those are not throwaways. Those don't end up in the trash.
They're frame worthy. Like, I'm not going to frame your family picture if you send that to me.
Come on,
but
Mindy.
I would definitely. I know. I'm sorry.
I have a little garland with little clips on it, and that's where all my Christmas cards go. So I do love to get the photo cards.
Actually, me too. I like displaying mine.
And
too.
I save them. I have them back from 10, 15 years. I keep them all in this box. And it's cool to see how how people have changed, their kids have grown.
It is. Yes. Well, let's talk about some of the obligations or traditions that we think that we should be able to shed. And I love this topic because saying things out loud gives me permission to do them. So kids, if you're listening, these are things that I'm honestly thinking about getting rid of, or I'm getting rid of them, and this is just my kind way of saying it. But I'll let you and Mindy go first, Julie. What are you going to shed this year?
Well, I don't have anything specific. It's more just a mindset of just, I am doing less planning. Like I said, I don't have a gift list in mind. I'm not scouring Pinterest to look for new decorating ideas, new recipes. I don't know. With the fall being so beautiful this year, I feel like I've been able to focus more on now, like not just looking forward to this next season like I normally am.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm not looking forward to Christmas, but I'm just definitely taking it slower. And so I think it's just going to be scaled back. Decoration, food, all of that.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Mindy, do you have anything specific that you're getting rid of?
All right. Well, this little guy in our house has made too many appearances, and I really think our elf on the shelf might finally hit the dust.
Yes, I think your kids are old enough now.
Isn't that funny, Marie? Like my youngest is 12, so everyone knows
Sure.
it's one of us. But literally, he came out last season. I think he moved twice. Nobody ever looked at him. Like,
Right.
yeah, there's
I think
Jingle
he's
Jangle.
a COVID super carrier. You need to get rid of him.
I know, right? So I
Put him in
really think
quarantine.
I'm shedding any semblance of, our elf on the shelf. Santa's been gone for a while, so there's no reindeer cookies. Like we don't do anything like that.
Right.
So that is one that I can say on the air, like no more elf.
Yeah. Well, I tried floating this idea, I think 2 years ago in our first Christmas episode. I wanted to get rid of stockings. My youngest at the time were 14 years old, and they were just adamantly opposed to getting rid of stockings. But now it's been 2 more years, guys, and I have got to stop stockings.
Ooh.
Now that I have a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law and 5 kids, and a granddaughter, that is 8 stockings I would have to fill. I'm overwhelmed. I don't enjoy them anymore. It was so much fun when the kids were little and you could go to Dollar Tree and get a bunch of little fun things that you knew they would ooh and ah over. It's not fun when you're just trying to fill them and fill them all evenly. That is not fun for me.
And I have found the stockings to be one of the most expensive things to try to fill.
They are. So the only reason I've been doing them is for my 2 youngest, my twins, but they're 16. And guys, you're just going to have to work this out on the therapy couch someday. Mom quit stockings when I was 16 years old.
All right. This is really ironic that you're bringing this up today because last night I got so excited because I'm pretty sure my daughter and her boyfriend are going to get engaged. I'm only saying this on here because they're not going to be listening to this before Christmas.
Okay.
Pretty sure they're going to get engaged here in the next year, whatever. I actually ordered a stocking with his name on it to match our family's needlepoint stockings. And that'll be a gift that I eventually give him. But I was like, I'm a genius. Like, I love our stockings. I got them off of personalcreations.com. They're needlepoint. They have people's names on them. It's one of my favorite decorations, even if I don't fill them,
I love those.
To the brim. So it was a joy to me to like make sure that it matched within our set. And there was one I hadn't ordered yet that went with our set that I'd bought like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's cool.
So funny you just said I'm over it.
I just like to put smaller gifts in there too, like things that might just be really small to open. I'll just put that in the stocking instead.
Yeah.
And then maybe some nice chocolate, things they wouldn't buy for themselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had to deal with our share of negative experiences this year, like discomfort and stress and losses. And I know that some people have had that more than others, like job loss or the death of someone that they've loved or unending stress due to illness. Like there's just a lot of things that people have dealt with. So I think we're all coming in a little more tired and just mentally and emotionally a little bit more exhausted. But being that this is the week of Thanksgiving, we're also trying to focus on gratitude. And I think we need to be focusing on gratitude even past Thanksgiving and into Christmas.
I know for us, we've tried to focus more on it with our thankful tree. It's amazing the things that have come through the season, even for our family. and to see certain situations that my kids will write on a leaf and I read it and I'm just like, wow, like I never would have guessed that would have come out of this season. And so seeing things like that through my children, I feel like there's always a perspective to I'm always trying to find the positive. I tend to be a pretty, positive person, I guess. But when hard things hit, I'm always looking for, well, how can God use this? What can he do out of this? And I've had those seasons though, where I'm just like, this just is awful. There's nothing good. I'm really struggling. But ironically, now I think we've all struggled so long now in this year, and we've each had our own separate losses or difficulties, that at this point, nothing's normal for anybody out here listening. Absolutely nothing is normal this year, whether you're in the same house you've lived in all your life or whether you have moved. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
So I think that it's been long enough, though, that I'm starting to see some silver linings come out in my own family. And I am truly thankful for this season, for it's almost like opening my eyes to see things I would not have seen in the past.
I can certainly speak to gratitude not coming easily. We talked about that in our gratitude podcast, that sometimes you just don't feel thankful, but knowing that God, that we are a part of a bigger picture, not just our own little world, and that God uses things in our lives to shape us. And instead of, asking why, it's like, what are you doing, God, to shape me through this? Why is not a helpful question because it frustrates us and can make us angry. But, that's a question we can answer. How are we being shaped by what we're going through? So I'm having to kind of view gratitude more as a discipline. It doesn't just come like
you have
overflowing,
to practice it.
Yeah. So, I'm very grateful for our health and our job stability and God's provision in so many ways this year in family members' lives. And we haven't even lost, I feel like we've lost a lot. We've lost some relationships, but like so many people have lost more than just their routine or their normalcy of life, like they've lost loved ones or job. And so I'm just, having to practice gratitude at this time of year.
Right. Isn't it kind of a delayed gratification? Like, I know Bryce and I were talking about implementing things that we have the opportunity to change. That maybe on a normal everyday basis, we wouldn't have been able to focus on these certain aspects of our lives or our health. And we have an opportunity right now. And the other day, this is really funny, and I don't think he would mind me sharing this, but my husband said something. I thought it was very profound. He said, I'm so happy right now. I actually forget to pray sometimes.
Oh,
and that
wow.
was just, it was just an irony, because we have struggled and we are still in a struggle. And for him to say, and I thought it was just so telling, that we are really thriving in a season of struggle, that you forget the struggle almost with the things that are so good. So it was just funny to hear him say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One tradition that we've already talked about that I want to use this year, kind of change it up, is Christmas cards. I know we just talked about that, but I'm going to continue my watercolor paintings. But like when you first could do the photo cards, I think the first photo cards I ever sent were just photographs I stuck in a card. So I still had to sign the card.
Right.
Then we moved to the ones you could get pre-done, and you could even get, I just remember being thrilled that we could put our signature, our name on there. So I had to do nothing except put it in the envelope and send it off, And so even with my watercolor cards, I think I've printed on the back, Merry Christmas from the King. So literally had to do nothing once I painted the card. Well, this year, since I have all this time on my hands, and we had talked about this at the beginning of the year as things we'd like to do, is maybe write more notes and so I am going to try to write on my Christmas cards.
All right.
An actual message of gratitude for people probably people I don't see very often, but like to just how I'm grateful for them in my life, or how they've supported me or prayed for me this year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, that's a way that I can focus on gratitude and people at the same time in a different way this year.
Yeah, I think that's great.
What
Instead
a joyful
of just
activity.
sticking it in the mail and, and being done.
Because see, that would typically stress me out to think, oh, I have to write a note to everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's me too.
But what a joy if you break it up and you think how much joy you're going to have to write specific notes to specific people and to make yourself sit and think about how you're thankful for that person or what they've done in your, for you, or how they've affected the world or whatever. Yeah. That's a great idea, Julie.
So it might take me all month. You might get your card in January, but
yes.
That's awesome. Well, let's transition from gratitude to Christmas gifts. So I know that a lot of people have trouble thinking of Christmas gifts, and I was thinking that it might be fun to talk about what is on our list. Things that we are maybe thinking would be fun to receive, and that might spark ideas in some of our listeners, because I know that one of the things that's hard for me is when my kids say, "What do you want for Christmas?" Or my mom or somebody, sometimes it's hard for you to think of what you might like for Christmas. So I love Christmas gift lists because they give us those ideas. So instead of I'm a fan, we're going to talk about some of the Christmas gifts that we have on our list this year. And Julie, you have one that's not quite a gift, so we'll start out with that one because it's going to be still very helpful.
Okay, yeah. I actually did get this I think I sent it to my daughter back in the summer, so she could be ready for Christmas. But you could probably still order this now. It's an Advent book called Shadow and Light by Tish Oxenreider. And she has 3 children, and she said she always loved to celebrate Advent. But with children, it was hard. Like sometimes the readings were too long or over their heads. And then if she got a children's book, it kind of dumbed it down and it wasn't good for the adults. So she came up with a book that gives devotionals for each Sunday of Advent and then every day in between too, that you could do for yourself. And each day it's pretty simple. There's a short reading and then a scripture from the Psalms, a question to ponder, like an open-ended question. And then she has a playlist you can go to, so you can listen to a song, and then you can look online at an artwork that is meaningful to her that kind of reflects the sentiment of that week. And it's a beautiful book. So,
that sounds really neat.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. She wrote it last year, and something happened in the publishing, and it didn't come out in time for Christmas. So she let you get the first week for free. So I got it last year and did the first week and loved it. Okay. So I went ahead and got the book for this year.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that in our show notes.
That's a great
another
idea
thing
too.
Is it's a spiral wreath made of wood, and it has holes in it for candles. So you could light a new candle every night of Advent, or you could move one candle kind of in a station. And it's called Cradle to Cross Advent Wreath. And it's made I ordered it from the Voskamps, Anne Voskamp, the author. Her son does woodworking and makes these.
That's neat.
So it's really beautiful. I love candles. So
maybe we can put a picture of that also on our Instagram this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the Advent book, I love that for older children. And that would be a great thing to start, because then, if you're able to talk to each other, you have a topic of conversation. Like whatever question, if there was a question in the week that you loved pondering, what a great conversation starter for your family.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that all of our gifts are not spiritual in nature, but I actually am asking for a Bible this year because I am going through the Bible recap, and I heard this on another podcast, Mom It Ain't Easy, and they interviewed Tara Lee Cobble, who does the Bible recap, and it's basically you read a certain number of chapters a day, and then you listen to like a 5-minute podcast. And the reason I want this certain Bible is because it has the written text, and then it also has a place to journal on every page. And I want to just be able to write my notes right next to what she's talking about. And I just feel like that would be so helpful this year. And it's not a Bible that, I'm looking to hand down to 50 generations here. It's like a work. Like I want to be able to write in it and mark it up. And I want space to be able to do that. So that is actually on my Christmas list this year.
Is it very big though? It seems like it would be gigantic to have.
I don't know. It's not like a whole page. It's like columns on either side of the written text. So I'm not sure. Right. And like I said, it's not a Bible I'm going to be taking anywhere. I'm just going to be leaving it, by a chair. So even if it is a little bit bigger, it would just kind of consolidate. And I find I'm better if I have fewer things to keep track of.
I like that.
Yeah. Mindy, what's something that's on your Christmas list this year?
I remember asking my mom years ago, what can I get you and Dad for Christmas? Oh, we would just love to be together. And I'm like, yeah, but what can I get you? I'm like, yeah, that's great. But what can I tangibly give you as a gift? Well, I'm starting to realize how much that means the older I get. I just want to be together. And so like if my kids were to say, Mom, what can I get you? I'd be like, can you write me a love letter? Can you, come home? Can we spend time together? Like the best things that one of my kids could give me is I'm a coffee lover. Take me out for a cup of coffee and spend time with me while we drink it at Starbucks or a local coffee shop. So I actually would love a date with each of my kids or some like that would be the best gift ever. I mean, if you want to rub my feet somewhere in there, I would take that. But ironically, though, my Keurig just broke after having it for I guess 3 or 4 years. And so I, along with all things coffee, I want a new coffee maker.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to be able to get a new coffee maker this year. And so that is on my list because I'm all about making a good cup of coffee at home.
Right. All right, Julie, what's something else that's on your list?
I need some new shoes, some athletic shoes. Okay. And John and I were out walking in downtown Franklin the other night and went into this athletic store and we saw these shoes I'd never seen before. And the brand is On. But when you see them, it looks like QN or QU. It's really weird because we had to ask about them. And then I went into my workout and my trainer had them on. So you know how you start seeing things everywhere. Yeah. And she said they're really, really comfortable. They're great for running or walking. So I think I want to try those.
Okay.
Nice.
And I think I want AirPods this year.
Yes.
I haven't had anything wireless. So I want to try that.
Yes.
And then something that, of course, neither one of those things are affordable to tell your kids. Right. This is what I want,
But they could go in together.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen these little aromatherapy shower steamers?
No.
They're little disc. They're wrapped in foil, and you unwrap them, and they have different flavor or different scents. They have essential oils in them, like eucalyptus or menthol or lavender, and you just plop them in the shower floor, and when the hot water hits them, it just steams up the shower. Yeah. So I have had those in the past, so I would like some more of those.
Where would you find those at, Julie? I'm making notes.
I think if you Googled essential oil or aromatherapy shower steamers, you would find them.
Okay.
I'll try to find a link to those and include them in the show notes.
Yeah.
Another one of the things on my list is, and this was actually suggested by my son this summer. And at first I thought, I don't know if I need that. I've lived so long without it. But now every time I use a dull knife, I'm like, yeah, I could really use some new knives. And I don't even know what all the knives are for. Like, what do you use which knife for? And I certainly don't know how to sharpen one. And all my knives stink. They just really do.
It makes a big difference when you have a sharp knife.
Yes, it does.
Except you have to watch your fingers.
Well, do you guys sharpen your own knives or what is the deal? Because I guess I'm not a real adult here.
I have a knife sharpener. Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
When we moved, that was something that Bryce found a place and took all of our knives and scissors and had them all professionally sharpened, Marie.
Wow.
It was pretty cheap, but it was a huge gift. Like we had never done that in the course of our marriage.
Yeah.
So now we can actually use all of our knives instead of the one that I think might actually cut through a tomato without smashing it to death.
Yes. I was trying to cut tomatoes the other day, and I don't think I even have good knives to begin with. I think it was like a free thing that I got. So,
Right.
they were not good. I don't even know what are good name brands of knives. Like, I am just very ignorant of knives. So,
Right.
I don't
Anything
know.
German.
Okay.
Oh,
Maybe call out some names, Julie, so I can look for them.
Hinkle. There's something that starts with a W. I can't remember it. Wolf something. But yeah, most of them are German.
Okay. Yeah. So anyways, knives are on my list. And then I think that I've mentioned this before, but I love my cast iron skillet that I got for Christmas last year. But one, it's only 10.5 inches. And a lot of times it's not big enough for the amount that I want to be cooking. I would like a bigger cast iron skillet. And then I would also like a glass cover because there's a lot of splattering that goes on. And right now I use a cover off a stock pot, but you can't see through it. So I have to keep lifting to see what things look like. And meanwhile, the oil splatters. So
they make glass covers for them?
they do. Yeah. Yeah. So that's another thing that I would like for Christmas. So maybe there's other
thanks,
people
guys.
that would like that too.
My Christmas list is growing by the second. Keep going. Keep going. I'm making lists.
Mindy, what else do you have on your Christmas list besides a coffee maker? Do you have anything?
I don't. Like, it's funny because the things that I want is I want to go on a trip.
Okay.
And I want to go shopping and I want to do these things, or I want to go to a restaurant or something like that. So everything is like an activity that I want to do. And so there's not a whole lot like that. Again, it would be like, let's get coffee together and do something together.
Okay.
Like,
and I think last Christmas, the whole theme was, let's give the gift of experiences. That was what I focused on, like, let's do an escape game or all these things that were not tangible gifts, but experiences. Right. And so it's so different this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Julie, do you have anything else on your Christmas gift that you want to share to spark ideas for people?
I always like to get good coffee beans because I grind my own coffee and make it. So I like to get coffee beans from like a local store in town, that roasts their own beans or something. So that's a good gift.
All right, Julie, what kind of coffee maker do you have?
Oh, just a French press. I just grind it and put it in there, and I just make my 2 cups or whatever every day. So like that.
Okay. I've heard that's a really good cup of coffee. So
it is very good. Yes.
How about you, Marie? Do you have any more?
I love those candles that Julie has talked about before. The ones that, and what are they called now, Julie? The ones that burn, but they look real.
The Illuminara, the flicker candles, they look like a real flame. Yeah.
Yes, I love those. I just started making an Amazon wish list, and I just started putting things on it because that seems to be the easiest way for me to collect ideas in one place. And I'll probably add things that I've seen on other gift lists, other podcasts and blogs, just because, it gives me new ideas.
I think it's a good way to keep track of it because I forget. I'll think, oh, yeah, there was something I wanted, and then I can't remember what it was.
Right.
Yeah. So Amazon wish lists are your friend. Another thing I was thinking as I was unloading the dishwasher today, and other listeners, I wanted to just give this as a hint that you could do. And I usually just buy these for myself, but you could actually put them on the Christmas list. So I hate it when you go to get a spoon and there aren't any left. People inevitably tell themselves they're going to bring back this utensil. Oh, I'm just going to take it to my car for one ride and then I'll bring it back, Mom. And
not.
Yeah, I know. Slowly, all your utensils disappear. So once a year, usually it's always in December, I go through and count all my spoons, all my forks, all my knives. And then I order replacements off eBay or Amazon of my same set. And I get them all back to the right number. And I'll do that with my plates and bowls, too, because people will take a plate or a bowl with them in the car, and I somehow never see it again. So do you guys have those problems in your houses?
I do find a lot of stuff in David's car, yes. Bowls. I mean, how do you eat cereal driving down the road? I don't know.
It's true. I know. We combined 3 different silverware sets. And Bryce created a system where we have containers that hold all the knives and a container that holds separate containers. So it's not just a silverware tray because the silverware tray wasn't big enough for all the silverware our family consumes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found, though, that spoons end up in the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's like we all search through the 20 to 30 spoons that are in the container for the ones that aren't chipped.
Right,
It
because
won't
they don't
cut your
feel
lips.
good on your lips.
That won't cut your lip while you're trying to eat ice cream or cereal.
So, Mindy, you could
So-
put new spoons on your list.
I'm telling you, the longer you guys talk, the longer my list is getting. And I'm appreciating these things that I've never noticed I needed before now. Like, so I'm going to end this episode. I'm like, I am not content anymore with my silverware. Thank you very much. I'm going to need some new.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have forks where the tongs have all gone together?
No, how would that happen?
We have several of those,
Who
and I
does
can't
that?
figure out how that happened.
Does the dog get a hold of them?
Julie,
No, because they're not mangled. They're just squished together.
Maybe your dishwasher water, your water heater's set too hot or something, and they're melting.
it's melting the metal.
melting
I think
stainless steel.
Somebody's using that fork to open something, maybe. Like,
Yes,
all of
that
them.
could be. One time I
Yeah.
found my son using a fork to get dog poop off the bottom of his shoe. Okay,
Lovely.
we definitely needed to replace that utensil.
Yes.
You just, like, families are hard on silverware. So go through your drawer, count up what you're missing, and treat yourself to full set at the beginning of each year.
And I do have two full sets. I mean, and I just have them in two drawers side by side. So
Uh-huh.
it's just nice to not have to. You can go a long time, that way without washing
Right,
your spoon.
right.
It's true.
Well, this is so fun, Mindy. Like you said, my list is now longer. It's longer with gifts. It's also longer with things that I can appreciate better this season, things that I can do less of, things that I could try and do more of, like gratitude. This was just a good recentering for me for Christmas. And I hope this is what it was for listeners, too. We'd love to hear what is on your Christmas list. If you want to contact us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com and share, we'd be happy to share that with other people, or tag us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. We'd love to hear what you're thankful for, what you're planning on doing this season.
Yes, this has been so fun. And thanks for all the ideas. My family thanks you.
It is good hearing other ideas.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Sounds
Goodbye.
great.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
girls.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.